Hi guys, this is your Tilly Hat Farmer, and today is actually the first time I will be trying to do a blog. Some people have been asking about my rice field, so I thought, why not share, share what I've been doing. Now, disclaimer, I'm not, I haven't been to farming for a long time. This is probably my like fourth or fifth crop for rice, but I'm willing to learn. I know there are a lot of people out there who has been farming rice their whole lives, but I think my willingness to learn new technology and willingness to absorb these wisdom from farmers is kind of like my strong suit when it comes to farming. So today, hopefully, this is gonna be the start of a great blog. Some I've been seeing a lot of blogs on the internet, on Facebook, on YouTube, and I thought, I could do that. We'll try. So why Tilly Hat Farmer? Well, first of all, I'm wearing a Tilly hat, thanks to brother Randy Vereline and sister Marilyn. And a lot of people have been comparing me with Kuya Kim. But I think he's more handsome than I am, obviously. And he does a great blog also. If you follow him, if you have time, he does a lot of inspirational talks. Aside from the TV shows that he does. So I've been thinking about the name. So I thought I'm wearing a Tilly, so why not call myself Tilly Hat Farmer, right? Not Kuya Kim, because Kuya Kim might have that trademark for his name. Well, anyway, so today I'm here at the new field that we've just opened. Actually, I have a field right down there. Yeah, that's 2 weeks old on the far end, and this one on the near end is about a week old. We did direct sowing or sabog tanim, as opposed to the ones you see where they do seed beds. They grow the seedlings, and then after about 15-20 days, you transplant it. It's more tedious, but the advantages of that is that you can control the weeds better because you flood the fields. There's a walkway and in the columns of the fields, in the rows, so that you can go inside the field and without damaging most of the crops, and then just pull out the weeds. But with sabog tanim, the advantages really are there's less work, there's less labor, it's less labor intensive, but the yield is could be comparable to transplanting or lipat tanim, no? It depends really on the management. So I thought, why not introduce you to how we open the field, no? So this field, actually, we just thought of opening this a couple of weeks ago. We only use this for corn. We only use that 4 hectares over there for the rice, no? But this is I think a 600 square meter or zero point 0.6 hectare field. So I'll be demonstrating most of my blogs with this field probably, and some of those. So what we did a couple of weeks ago, this was all overrun with weeds. That's the biggest problem with farming, no? How to control the weeds. There are a lot of chemicals out there that you could use, but being a conscientious one, and most of the produce that we get here are for our own consumption, and also for caring for the environment. I try to use as less chemical as I can. Sometimes it can't be, it can't be helped, no? But with proper management, I think you can minimize the use or even eliminate the use of chemicals, no? So this was overrun with weeds a couple of weeks ago. So what we did, I hired a tractor. I'll post photos probably. I hired a tractor to plow this field. They use a trailing tiller. So it's like the tractors that you see on the road with that big trailer tiller at the back, no? So they pull it. They have plates in it, and it actually turns over the soil. So it scrapes the surface of the field, and then it turns over the soil, thus killing a lot of the weeds. But the problem is there are two types of weeds actually. One is the seed producing weed. So obviously it produces seed and it drops to the ground, and then after a while it germinates, so it comes a new plant, no? So once you plow the field, you use a rotavator to pulverize the soil and kill most of the weeds. And then the other type of weed is the shooting weeds, or I don't know what they call it. They have shoots at the bottom for the roots, no? So they reproduce that way. So this is much harder to control, because even though you plow the field, the roots are still there, the rhizomes are still there, and it produces a lot more grass, no? A lot more weeds after. So the key here is consistency. You have to plow it consistently. You have to rotor it consistently, so that when the seeds germinate and when the rhizome starts producing new shoots, you use the harrower, the rotavator, to again kill those shoots. If you do that enough, you're gonna break the life cycle of the weed. So that's the key to having a weed-free, not exactly weed-free, or minimize the weed growth in your fields. So why do we need to control weeds? Well, basically, they're competing for nutrients. So you want your rice plants to get the nutrients as much as possible instead of other plants like the weeds. So that's maximizing the nutrients that you put in your field. Although there's this Japanese farmer. Well, I learned about him from JP Alipio. Shout out to JP. Thank you for referring me to that. I read it. It's very revolutionary. He's actually his name is Fukuoka, I think. I'm not too sure. No. His philosophy is actually producing food the way nature intended it to be. So you have to produce wild food. No. Well, since it's revolutionary, it's kind of counterintuitive when it comes to how I see farming, because I see farming as putting inputs and getting outputs, right? It's sort of like a, you sow the seeds, you let it grow, you put inputs like fertilizers, organic fertilizers, minerals, and so forth, and supplement, and then you get as much output from that input that you get. So that's the usual way on how we do farming. But with this Japanese guy, he's actually promoting just letting the grass grow wild with weeds and everything. So I still need to wrap my head around it, but probably, in a couple of more contemplation and reflection, I probably go find a middle ground for that. So anyway, so we started back to the field. We started preparing this field about 2 weeks ago, as I said, and then so we tailored it twice, we rotavated it twice, and then I'm still waiting for no rain, probably for 2 or 3 days, just to dry the soil, so that when I get the tractor again and rotivate this field, the soil won't stick to the rotavator. That's a problem if the soil is too wet or too moist. It's gonna stick in the rotavator, in the blades, in the body of the rotavator. It would be very difficult to operate that equipment here. So as you can see, it's kind of clean, right? But if you look closely, there are actually some weeds starting to sprout. So I don't know if you can see it, but there are a lot of weeds that's starting to sprout. Now, it is also important to know what weeds you're up against. Well, yeah, for this one. This one's actually the most common that you will see here. This weed is called the muta. So you'll see this a lot in the fields, in the farm, even in your garden. You're gonna find this. This is actually not a real problem. They don't suck in as much nutrients, and then they don't grow as high. So they only grow about probably a foot maximum. They don't even reach a foot, no. But their biggest problem is actually the talahib, no. This one, just very difficult. They're very difficult to get rid of once they establish their roots. See, the rhizomes are there. So these are the things that starts to, even though you cut off the body of the plant, the leaves and everything, as long as the roots are in the soil, it's gonna grow. It's gonna produce shoots, no. So this is actually what you need to consistently be rotivating the fields with, no. So once you get rid of those, you'll have less weeds to compete with your rice, no. So this probably will take one more rotivating, and then after that, we're gonna use the sabog tanim method, or the direct sowing. Yesterday, I actually visited the municipal agricultural office, because the Department of Agriculture is doing this rice competency program. So they're providing a lot of seed stocks for farmers. So I registered for one. So although that one, I bought the seeds for that, because a friend of mine who works for a hybrid rice company actually suggested that I use hybrid for this one, since it's only like 600 square meters, and then there's 2 more plots there, so probably about a little less than 1 hectare. So he's been asking me to try out their hybrid seeds. So I said, okay, let's give it a try. Hybrids are notoriously difficult to cultivate, but I'm up for the challenge because this is a manageable size plot for me, no? So we put the pilapil already so that we can section the fields into 4 sections. This one, no? The reason for that is because the lot is sloping. We need the pilapil, or I don't know what you call it in English, no? Those rice, those field, what you call this, burrs, just a small burst, no? So that when the rain comes, the water won't all run all the way to the other side. So there we can retain some water here, no? Because rice needs a lot of water. Rice plants needs a lot of water, no? So we've sectioned this into 4 sections. Now, hopefully, it's already March, July 2. Probably it's a little bit late in the season, but hopefully by the time they grow, we'll get a lot of rain, so we don't have to irrigate because we don't have an irrigation system here in our area. No, the irrigation water doesn't reach us here. We depend on the rain heavily, so we call this sahod ulan. Most of the farms here are. So that's the other field that I use corn with, but I'm not gonna use that. That's about a hectare of land over there. But during the corn season, all of this are filled with corn. No? So that's it for the moment. I'll try to run you through how I prepare this area. But probably I'll take you on a tour on the other side so you can see the plot that I have planted rice with for a week already. Okay, so this is plot 2. That's about a week old. So they sprouted. We sowed them last about 8 days ago, I think. What's the day? Yeah, about 8 days ago. So as you can see, they're sprouted already. So hopefully they're gonna survive. But we've been very fortunate, no? It's been raining every afternoon, so it's getting a lot of moisture. The roots are starting to develop, and after 1 more week, we're gonna put the first basal fertilizer for this one. I'm gonna run you through the fertilizer program that I do also. So, well, anyway, so this vlog hopefully is intended for those of you who are not yet really into doesn't know anything about farming yet. So, pwede ko kayong bulahin. But this is not intended for those who are veterans in the farm. I know that you're better than I am. You have more experience than I do, and I try to listen to them. No, I try to find people who've been to farming for a long time, and I always ask them questions. No, makulit ako sa kanila. I always ask them questions. I'll try to pick their brains. You know. And then try to get the best practices, no. So this field over here is about 15 days since sowing. So as you can see, they're a little bit bigger, a little bit taller. They're about 2 or 3 inches tall, aside compared to the other one, which is like an inch tall pa lang. No? They're starting to develop their roots already. In 3 or 4 days time, we're gonna start putting fertilizers for this. The first fertilizer that they will be using is probably the triple 14, and then put some 1620 over it. No, these are some of the nutrients that they really need. Ideally, you need to have your field tested, soil testing, so that you'd know what the deficiencies are. But since we've been farming this field for quite some time already, we kind of know what the deficiencies are. But it's a good idea to have it soil tested every year, even every 2 years. No? If it's not really intensive, like one cropping per year, that's fine. No? That's no problem. And then we put a lot of organic fertilizers also here. No, from the livestock farms, from the cattle, from the goats, we get their manure, we store it. And then once we've accumulated 1 year's worth of manure from them, we spread it in the fields to give the soil some structure. These organic materials are not actually nutrients per se, but they condition the soil in carrying more nutrients. They make the soil more what you call this, more buhaghag. Uh, so there's more air in the soil, so that the organic material can harbor good bacteria, which produces the nutrients also, kind of like the Yakult for us, no, for humans, no. So it conditions the soil actually, and then it produces a lot of humic acid. Uh, so the humic acid is the one that actually changes the condition of the soil in carrying more nutrients, and then doing some, I mean, producing some electric charge or cation exchange or something that will make the nutrients more accessible for the plants, no? So I think that was the explanation that I read somewhere. So anyway, thank you for staying with me until now. I hope you're not bored, no? So I'll try to produce another video and let you share with you the growing process that we do here in our rice farm. So again, this is Dennis, your Tilly Hat farmer, and until next time, see you. Bye.